For the next few minutes, don't worry about anything. Just let loose and laugh.
Lord knows they will. It's the Tiny and Katy Show.
Hey, I'm Tiny.
Hey, it's Katy.
Welcome to an all-new episode of the Tiny and Katy Show. So glad to have you, and big thanks to everybody who joined us on our social medias this past week and really got into the discussion of what we're going to start out with today, Katy. You ended last week's episode talking about, and I've been thinking all week, and Katy did not tell me.
I did not. Yes,
what she's talking about this when it comes to a food you tried. So I'm assuming, let me try to guess something, okay? Let's set the stage here, see if I'm right.
Yeah, you'll never guess it, but be my guest.
Okay, you are, first of all, set the stage here. You are one of the pickiest eaters I have ever met in my life.
This is true.
Number
now,
one.
I am getting a little bit better as I'm getting older, and I've been traveling a little bit more. I'm a little bit more open-minded to trying different foods. But you brought up a good point last week that I feel like maybe I should quickly explain. I have this really weird quirk when I eat French fries. I pick up a French fry and I eat the other end, but I will not eat the end that I have touched with my fingers.
Which makes
so
no
at
sense.
the end, it makes, and there is zero reason behind it. Like I've been to therapists and asked them about it. There's no reason behind it whatsoever.
They must love when you give them that problem. Like, we're talking about people who show up and like have been grieving for 30 years, or are these crazy, like they think they're a mutant. And Katy walks in like, well, I ate my French fries wrong.
I don't go just because of that. I'm not seeking out therapists because of that food.
No, but
habit.
you brought it up.
Well, when I'm in there, I'm like, hey, well, I'm paying you and we're talking about my weird things about me. Can you tell me the reason why I do this? So every time if you go out to eat with me and I get anything with French fries, there's always a little pile of like nubs, like French fry nubs that I won't eat because I've touched them with my fingers. It's not a germaphobe thing. I don't know why. I've just been doing it my entire life, so now it's just a habit. But anyway,
and if you go out with Katy, if you go out to eat with Katy, chances are you are paying. By the way, and I don't mean you as in Katy. I mean you are paying.
I've actually gotten a lot better at that. Tiny and I. Remember the one time we went out, and we went out to like a diner. So the bill was, maybe $30. And I would always wait for Tiny to put down his credit card to pay because he's a gentleman and he believes that women shouldn't always pay. And if you can, take care of them. And I, obviously I love that about Tiny. But we were out to eat one morning and Tiny says, watch this, to the other person we were with. And the check came and I said, I'll get this. And Tiny goes, okay. All right, that sounds good. Well, hell yeah, Katy, that sounds great.
Damn right.
And I'm like, I have my credit card in my hand, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm putting it down. It's going down.
Every single time we would go out to eat, Katy's right, I would wind up paying. But to her credit, she would offer. Oh no, Tiny,
I would.
Tiny, let me get it. No, Katy, it's fine. I got it. Don't worry. At the time I didn't have, real many bills to worry about or anything like that. And this time I'm like, yeah, this is just not, I'm totally going to screw with her now. And she was going through one of her phases where I was like, oh, I'm just low on money, blah, blah, blah. And that thing comes.
One of my phases.
You're like, Tiny, I got this today. Don't you worry. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Hell
Katy,
yeah.
I mean, the sweat is pouring off my face, down my back.
So great.
I'm just sweating. My face is beat red. I'm like, okay, I think I have enough money for this like $25 bill. I mean, we're 23 years old at the time.
And the
like,
server
I think I got enough of my bank account.
The server comes to get, and she goes, all right, Katy had her card out. And it's like, it reminds me of, if you've ever seen the movie Ghost, where he tells Whoopi Goldberg's character after she gets the check from the bank, she's like, oh, I can't imagine what I'm going to do with all this money. And he goes, you're going to endorse it. And he makes her give it to the nuns. And she holds on to it like the last second. That's kind of like it was with Katy. She has her credit card out and the server comes over and says, oh, is this ready to go? And Katie's like, yeah. And I mean, buddy, she is at the last second. She's handing it to her, and she's barely letting it go. And I'm like, oh god! And by the whole time, I'm just going.
The thing is, Tiny, I think that bill was like $25.
I know. It's so sad. It's ridiculous. But man, was it fun? Oh my god, you were so squirming, and finally, I'm like, no, give that here. And
I know, and I will tell you, since then, I'm not 23 anymore. I have gotten better at actually saying I will pick up the check and actually picking up the check. And it's always a little bit more than $25. But anywho.
Katy's idea of picking up the check was always, here, Tiny.
Here it is. I'll pick up the check.
Yeah.
Literally pick it off the table. Here you go, Tiny.
Yep.
Take care of this.
Well, I
for
tell you
me.
what, we got off
Oh
on
my
a
gosh.
tangent there, but that's a story that I don't know that we ever would have told. So thank God that it led to this. So anyway, let's go back here, Katie. So take us through what's going on right
Okay.
now with this food.
So me being a picky eater, this was a big deal. I went out to eat. There's a very, very nice wine bar where I live, and the food there is a little bit fancy. I don't know how else to say it. It's just fancier food. And one of my friends that I was with at this restaurant the other weekend ordered, and I don't know if I'm going to say it correctly, foie
Gras.
Of course I'm saying it wrong. This is Tiny. Of course he's going to correct me.
Of course you are.
Foie
No.
gras.
No.
No.
Foie.
Foie.
Yes.
Foie.
Foie gras.
Frog gras.
No, not frog walk.
Okay, whatever.
Foie
You know
gras.
what is it? Duck liver?
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, so I ordered duck liver, or they ordered duck liver, and I had heard how good it was at this restaurant, and I had a couple drinks in me, so I thought, why not live on the edge and be adventurous? And I tried it, and it was out of this world.
Really?
Amazing. Unbelievably amazing.
That's shocking.
Have you ever had it, Tiny?
No.
It was on a crostini, and there was a little bit of goat cheese, and then the frog wall. Yeah, pretty good.
No.
Okay.
No.
No. Okay, and then the duck liver was on top.
There you go.
And it was decadent, rich.
Is it strong?
No, not at all. It's very, very rich. But you know how sometimes you eat a fillet and a fillet is rich, but it's still a steak.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good comparison. I wouldn't compare it to filet mignon, but it's kind of like that same richness to it and tenderness to it. It was amazing. It was unbelievable.
Well,
I mean, I will go there again and order that particular meal item. I mean, I don't know what that
would you
says about me that
compare
I
it
can't
to?
pronounce it.
What would you compare it to?
I don't think I can. I don't know how else to compare it, but it was very, very good. But I was going through Tiny and I was reading the comments that people had responded on Facebook and maybe Twitter, maybe Instagram, I'm not sure, about foods that they didn't like when they were younger and like as they're older. And a very popular one, obviously vegetables.
Sure.
Broccoli is a big one. But somebody wrote peanut butter. I mean, how does anybody not love peanut butter?
How? Okay, first of all, I would love to know, how did that one escape me that I didn't see that?
That was the one that caught my attention the most, especially when we said, what was a food that you didn't love as a child or growing up? I mean, what kid doesn't love peanut, unless they have an allergy, obviously. Kids love peanut butter. That's how you get them to eat vegetables. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Don't worry about that plate of peanut butter on, over to the side, even though there's like vegetables underneath it.
Yeah, and
That's
speaking
how you
of
get
that,
to eat it.
Let's take to our socials here on the Tiny and Katy Show Facebook page. Holly said Funyuns is something that she used to not like, but now she loves. She said her family loved to eat them on road trips, and she'd go on and on about how gross they were. And then after years of declaring their nastiness, I tried one, and damn, they are good.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
it's Funyuns. Of course they're good.
Yeah, I don't like Funyuns. I really
What?
don't. There's a million better snacks I can think to buy than Funyuns.
Now,
A million better.
Now, listen to this. Nicola, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Nicola, on our Facebook page said sauerkraut. Now, for me,
Ugh.
that's kind of in reverse. I grew up liking sauerkraut. Now I can't stand it.
It's the smell. The smell of sauerkraut is just so off-putting. It's
Yeah.
just, if it smells like that, I'm terrified to eat it. I don't think I've ever had sauerkraut.
Listen to this one, Katie. You're going to love this. Tina said, I would only eat spaghetti with butter in the noodles because I hated the sauce. Now, as an adult, I can eat spaghetti with sauce. I love how
Well,
she
you
says,
know-
now as an adult, I can eat spaghetti with sauce. I mean, damn right you can.
Right, yeah. That would be positively crazy if you didn't.
That's using your noodle, Katie. Oh my goodness. Hey, by the way, Katie, since you bring up that pun, by the way, our video that we did for St. Patrick's Day was wildly successful with all the puns and jokes that we made for St. Patrick's Day. And by the way, we hope you had a really great St. Patrick's Day. But if you have not seen that video, it is on our socials. It's on our YouTube page. It's the only thing on our YouTube page that is not a full episode of the Tiny and Katy Show. But it was just so good that Katie and I talked about it. And she's like, Tiny, you got to put this up on YouTube too, because we just had a great time. So anyway, and thanks to everyone who responded. By the way, you may have noticed that we said in our social post about the whole food thing conversation we were going to have is you might win a prize if we say your name on there. Well, we are going to do a prize. Now, not this week, but Katie does not have any idea.
I don't. Yeah, I have no idea.
What the prize is going to be. But I do. Here's what it is, Katie. You're going to love this. Kelsey Ballerini, we all know who she is, right?
Oh, yes. Yes, yes.
She wrote, I don't know if you know this. You might not even know this, Katie. She wrote a book of poetry. Did you know that?
Kelsey Ballerini did?
Yeah.
Recently?
It was within the last year. She wrote a book of poetry. It was, I tell you this,
No idea.
it was released just before Christmas, I believe, because I saw a lot of people were getting it. Well, the record label was kind enough to send me copies, so we have copies to give away, and they are signed.
Not by me or you.
Oh, no, by me. Of course, by me.
So nobody wants it then. So not one person wants that book.
Absolutely not. But no, Kelsey did sign them, so we are going to give those away over the next few months to everyone when we have these conversations, kind of to just to say thank you, really, because it's the response has been overwhelming for us. And, Katie puts a whole lot into this show, just so everyone knows. Just bends over backwards and is all active on the socials and when it comes to logos and plastering us all over the place.
Everything that you see that you like is all done by my hand.
100%.
So you're welcome for that.
I have when we talked about this a couple episodes ago, I think in the debut episode is I've really gotten into like the graphic design part of this and the video.
Yeah, you're doing really well. Very well.
I mean, thank you, but it's crazy to me, and I'm just learning. So bear with me with all this. And I send Katie's messages. Hey, does this look okay? And so I'm really trying to do that. But this is totally a team effort because I will send things to Katie and I'll say, hey, how does this look? Oh, it's great, Tiny. I love it. Or something. She'll say something completely different that has nothing to do with what I just texted her. And I'm like, okay, that's great. So here's an example.
True.
Here's how Katie works, okay?
So true.
This is going to really dive into how her mind operates.
Wait. Before you get into this, Tiny, what did you used to say was a theme song that would go on in my head?
I would say, if you could crack open Katie's head, okay, and put your ear to it like you do with the seashell, you put your ear to Katie's head and you'll hear. I mean, that's exactly what you hear. So what I did was I was just today, as a matter of fact, I don't know why, I was just toying around on my computer, and I was taking our logo that you see behind me and as well as with Katie, and I thought, it'd be kind of cool to do one for St. Patrick's Day, which obviously you saw in the video if you watched that, and then just change the colors around, real simple stuff. And I sent it to Katie, and she's like, "This is really good." Well, you will never in your life meet anybody who is a bigger fan of Halloween than this girl right here.
That's true.
Nobody.
Halloween, I have. I'm sorry, I will go off very, very quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know now that I have Halloween comforters, Halloween shower curtain? All of my pictures come down off of my walls, and I framed Halloween pictures. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I transform my house from my normal decor to Halloween, I mean, it's a weekend project. Yeah. It takes putting new nails in the wall, spackling the old ones. It is a full-blown project. Yes. I am obsessed with Halloween, but I'm not quite sure where you're going with this.
Okay, so I thought to myself, how can I do? She's gonna love this. If she loved the one that I just did for St. Patrick's Day, she's gonna love if I do one for Halloween. So I sat there and I must have spent an hour putting this. An
hour on that?
Excuse me?
An hour. I mean, no offense, Tiny, but you already had the logo done. Didn't you just insert a witch and call it a day?
No, that would be what I do when I record with you.
I knew that was coming.
It wasn't an hour. I mean, it was maybe like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was like 5.
Is when I was done with it, and I'm going to pop it up here so people can see this. When I was finished with this, I thought, oh my God, she's just going to flip out. And I text her, and she didn't even acknowledge it.
Well, because Tiny sent me, now mind you, I'm educating our youth
Yeah.
at this point.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm working very hard with my students.
Yeah.
And I get the St. Patty's Day one. Then I get a Christmas one. Then I get a Thanksgiving one. Then I get a Halloween one. And I keep getting another one and another one. I'm like, yeah, Tiny, these are great. I love all of them. I'm busy. I got to teach our kids, all this wonderful knowledge is in my head. I'm trying to impart into our youth. Like, you can't take time away from that. That's
So
very important.
here's exactly what wound up happening. Okay. She said, yes, that's it. Wow, these are great. All I had sent her was the Irish one, the St. Patrick's Day, and a Christmas one. All right.
Yeah. I mean, what else do you want? Yeah, they're great. I love them.
So I send her the Halloween one, and I get one for Katie in Korea.
Oh, yeah, because I want to teach abroad at some point in my life.
So Katie wants,
wanna
which is
teach
fine.
abroad.
She wants to teach abroad. So I said, oh my God, nothing for the Halloween one. She goes, I love all of it, but I'm busy,
Well, I
Look,
am. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it.
here's
I
the
am
thing.
busy.
I'll end this part of the conversation of why that shocked me, because you are so hardcore Halloween that I thought
am.
I wouldn't care if one of your kids passed out right in front of you and you saw this, you'd be like, oh my God, hang on, honey. I'll be with you. And do you need the nurse? Are you sure? Oh my God, this is so great. Look at that. Look, would this make you feel better if you see this, honey?
I'm sorry. Maybe if you sent me to my work like Halloween cupcakes or Halloween decor, or you sent me, like a coffin or something that was Halloween, like tangible that I could put in my hands, maybe I would freak out. But just like, hey, here's a logo. Do you like it? I mean, I don't know what you want from me, which is funny that I would say that, because when I do anything, I expect a huge reaction. From everybody else.
Yeah, you do.
Anything that I do, I expect an enormous reaction. So I understand where you're coming from with that.
We
I get it.
didn't plan this, Katie, but we do tend to, or I think that we like to share at least a couple stories from our time when we worked together doing the mornings. Should I share my favorite Halloween story about you?
Is it when I got punched in the back?
No, it is when we were planning for that event. Remember, we were in the office and I came up with
the lounge. The lounge.
Should I tell it?
Oh, yes.
Okay, all right. So the radio station for a number of years has had the zombie prom, and it basically is a Halloween dance and party, and it turned out to be this really good event. But when we decided we were doing this, Katie was beside herself with ideas and, oh my God, I'm really going to take charge of this event. Now, everyone's known her love of Halloween, so we were all like, of course, by all means, what do you want to do? So we're all gathered and we're having a meeting solely for the zombie prom. That's it. Mm-hmm. So in the past, before this, we had this meeting. It had typically gone where if there was an idea or something that I would have had, I would sometimes, for lack of a better way of saying it, share them with Katie so that she could present them as hers and maybe
Tiny, you are incredibly witty and very, very clever. And Tiny was always getting the spotlight in our meetings because he would say just some random idea that popped in his head and everybody would like be beside themselves because Tiny had this grandiose idea. And it got frustrating for me where I would think, Tiny, could you just just whisper one to me, text one to me so that somebody just is like, wow, Katie is so witty and so she's really a valuable team member.
So I said, okay, all right, I'll keep that in mind. I'll do it. So I had my marching orders. We sat in this meeting and I was sitting behind Katie. She was at the table and I was behind her. So the idea was that, well, we should have a VIP lounge. And Katie's like, oh, that's great. And everybody's like, yeah, that's good. We should do that. And we give us something to give away and you can have access to it and blah, blah, blah. And I went, well, what if we call it the RIP lounge?
And I mean, like you could have heard a pin drop. Everybody was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Tiny. Wow. Like it was like he had just invented
Halloween.
Like the iPhone. Yeah. Like it was just like, whoa. And I'm seething mad. You can feel the steam coming off of me.
Let me
and
reenact to you what happens.
Okay.
Now, mind you, I'm behind her, okay? You son of a beep. Don't you to give one to me.
I said You couldn't let me have it, could you?
You couldn't let me have it, could you? You just had to take it, didn't you?
Well, that's typical.
You know what?
Tiny.
That is the last time I'm asking you for anything.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And then 5 minutes later, it's like, hey, Tiny, would you go ahead and grab this for me?
No,
Or
well, no,
can you help me come up with this idea?
You forget what you said then, and we'll move on here. But what she said eventually, she goes, "Can you tell everybody that was an idea that we actually came up with together?" I'm like, Katie.
I mean, the time had passed.
The time's
It was
cast by
over.
now. Okay, we've got to move on here. Well, you know how much I love Halloween, you bastard.
I was really mad at you about that. I hated how you were always getting all this praise for being so clever and witty, and I just wanted some as well. So
God, it was
whenever
so
anybody
funny.
thought that I was clever and witty, it was because Tiny was telling me things to say. He would text it to me or whisper it to me.
Yeah.
But Tiny, there was a question that I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
And I had a really interesting conversation with my best friend Bridget right before we jumped on this podcast, and I was curious about your opinion on this. My best friend Bridget is getting married in October.
Love you, Bridget.
And we love Bridget. We love Logan. They're the best. Bridget's been my best friend since I was, 10 years old. This is a big deal for me. I'm her maid of honor. And she's very open about everything with the wedding. So everything we've been talking about down to every detail, and I'm happy to hear it. I'm a good audience. I love to hear about it. So she's kind of thinking about getting a videographer for her wedding. And the one that she met with quoted her at around $4,000. And I said, for a videographer, that's a photographer. I don't know. Now, mind you, I have never been married. I am not married. I don't know what these things cost. And so she was talking to me about, well, what do you think about that? And I said, well, how often are you really going to sit down and watch your wedding video? And then I said, I don't think Tiny had a videographer at your wedding. Mm-mm. And is that something, if you didn't, do you regret not having one?
No, and here's why. Because I love pictures. For instance, easy for me to say. For instance, when we did episode 1, and I popped up the pictures from our wedding that when you were talking about how all the different poses that you did. Here's my, and maybe this just may be as in the Tiny and Katy relationship here, but I don't think if you watch a video, you see it, that's it. Okay, It's done, whatever. I don't think there's anyone who could tell that story behind the picture better than us.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
If you have Mary, which obviously I was going to say if you throw Mary into it, well, it was her wedding, but when you get
she
her
was
in
there, she was a part of it.
Yeah, exactly. She was there too. I think it just adds to it, and it's very conversational. Whereas if it's kind of like talking about Titanic versus watching it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Well, she brought up some really good points. Obviously, she has spoken to other videographers that quoted her at much less, but her other bridesmaids were saying that it would be a mistake and she would regret it if she didn't have a videographer at her wedding. And I said to her, first of all, I am probably not the person to ask this to. I'm not married, but I cannot imagine how frequently I'm going to say, let's sit down and watch our wedding video. Right. I mean, maybe on an anniversary, maybe on the first few, but after a while, I would think that, maybe there are people who do sit down and every anniversary watch their wedding video, but are you really going to sit down and watch it for the amount of money that you're paying for it?
Yeah,
because you are so busy in your, and your wedding day, you're caught up in everything. You're checking in on everybody. You're not able to take in those smaller moments that are happening with your guests because you are so focused on obviously your wedding day.
Maybe this will change what I'm about to say, but I feel like excuse me. I think it's beautiful to see pictures from someone's wedding day on their walls, on their timelines, whatever, in their homes, literally on their walls. But you don't. Unless you plan to just have like a TV on your wall devoted to playing video from your life.
Which I probably would when I get married. It's going to be ongoing, nonstop.
Yes, absolutely. I know you would. I can't see it being. I'll put it this way: you asked me if I had one. No. Do I regret not having one? Absolutely not. At that price, holy crap!
Well, that's the thing is I think that is an exorbitant amount of money. So she has definitely talked to other, but this one came, oh, you like that word?
Exorbitant. I love
Yeah,
it.
I told you, my vernacular is incredibly advanced these days.
Except when you're
Yes.
eating fla fla fla.
I can't pronounce what I'm eating, but
Right.
I'm still very sophisticated. But anyway, so it was just something I wanted to get your opinion on and anybody else's opinion. If you have one, do you watch it? Is it worth it? Would that have been something you would have scrapped on your wedding day? Looking back, I went to this one wedding, Tiny. Holy moly. It was a very fancy wedding. And they had a videographer record the ceremony. And then from the time the ceremony ended to the reception actually started, not the cocktail hour, but when the reception started, he had edited it and had it up playing for the entire group of guests by the time the reception started.
Wow.
And that was impressive, but that probably cost a pretty penny.
Oh,
but
my
it was
goodness,
quite
yes.
impressive.
I think
Yeah.
if you are going to record your wedding, you probably ought to be a celebrity, because that's the only way that it can really live on in any way that is constantly viewed. Other than that, just, But
I
you know
don't-
what?
I don't
Look,
know,
it's your
though.
money. Spend it how you want.
But don't you think there might be people that sit down on their anniversary and say, let's watch our wedding day. Let's remember that lovely moment and all the love that we felt that day. And no, I don't know. I'm not married.
Well, if I pay $4,000, we're watching that damn thing every night.
It's going to be like every night. Let's watch a movie. Oh, I have a really good one.
Yeah.
Well,
Katie, come watch this movie with us. Wait till you see the previews.
I'm kind of like that somewhat when I've been skydiving 4 times.
Oh.
And the very first time I went, I had a video taken of myself skydiving, and it cost not $4,000, it was $300. But for about 3 years straight, every time somebody came over, I would say, hey, you guys want to watch something? Yeah. What do you got? You guys want to see my skydiving video? Everybody want to see my skydiving video. And whether they wanted to or not, they were obviously going to watch my skydiving video. And still to this day, not as much, but if, there's nothing on TV and we can't pick a movie, I'll say, anybody want to watch my skydiving video?
Do you have this? Can we show this?
I have it on DVD. I have a DVD player.
Well, good for you. We're not
Well,
recording on
I mean,
DVD.
I know, but I still kick it so old school. My car still has a CD player in it. I'm so old school. I can't even believe that I figured out how to set up this equipment for a podcast.
Well, it's still a work in progress, believe me.
Touche.
You ought to see the outtakes and the bloopers.
Oh
But,
my gosh, so many.
Anyway, so as we wrap this one up, Katie, we're going to do another round of Picture It.
Okay.
Katie's picked the picture. She's chosen
Yep.
it. And
I'm sorry. I love this one so much because this is one of the very few pictures where I'm pissed off and you're happy.
Okay.
That never happened in our relationship.
that is role reversal.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so Katie's going to show the picture in 3,
Okay.
2, 1. Oh my God. Okay. All right. I get to tell this story now. You got
Tiny
to tell the
is
last one.
Tiny is in bed with me.
Yes.
That's why my face looks like that. I'm so mad.
I am in bed with Katie. Here's what happened. We were doing a live broadcast at Six Flags America, and they told us we needed to be there in the morning. We're doing the morning show, so we had to be there before the park opened. So I think we had to be there around 4:30, 5 o'clock, somewhere around there.
Our show started at 5. We were there at 3:30, 4 o'clock
that's
in the
right.
morning.
Yeah. So, yeah, we didn't have to be there that early. We just had to be there before the park opened, but our show starts at 5, so like Katie said, we had to be there to get ready. So you don't know this about Katie, but there is no one you will ever meet in your life that is worse at waking up than Katie.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I'm okay with it now. But yes, at that time,
Oh.
it was bad. It was bad.
It would
hated
take
it.
an act of God to get her out of bed. So
I love to sleep.
the alarm goes off. It's like 2:15, somewhere around that in the morning. And I'm don't get me wrong, I'm not happy about it, but I'm up.
I think you're missing a little backstory. Tiny and I had a hotel room by the park because we had to drive all of our stuff over there.
Right.
And obviously, Tiny and I are very comfortable with each other. So we shared a room, but obviously not a bed. So he's in his bed. I'm in my bed. The alarm's going off.
Yeah. So the alarm did not wake her up. It did its job for me, did not for her. So I'm like, Katie, wake up. Nothing. Katie, get up. Not a word. Now, I knew she wasn't dead, although someone would probably think that if they just walked into the scene. I mean, she was out,
good.
right? So I walk over. I'm like, Katie, get up.
I mean, that might be an exaggeration.
No,
but
it's not.
Noises were made.
Like
noises
the most guttural outbursts that you would ever want to hear. Like she's trying to digest a bratwurst, okay?
Jesus.
So finally, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to have some fun with this. And I get in bed behind her, and I take my phone, and I get it in the position that you see in the selfie position, and I turn the light on. And I'm like, Katie, wake up! And I mean, I was loud in her ear. And next thing you know, it's a picture that you see, obviously, and she's like,
Yeah. Tiny and I didn't speak for like 2 hours after that moment.
Oh my God. She hated life at that moment.
But that was such a fun day. They opened that new ride that we got to ride over and over and over and over again. I think it was called the Apocalypse.
I'm glad
and
you
every
remember.
time. Yeah, well, I do because we rode it like 100 times.
It was
we just
fun.
kept riding it over and over again. Yeah, that was a really fun day.
Yeah, and we said
it was a good day.
So we said to him, we're like, you know, this ride's great, blah, blah, blah. You know, how long did it take to build? And they really kind of let us down. At least they let me down when they said, well, we didn't really build it. It was at another park before and we moved it here. I'm like, talk about anticlimactic. Like you just picked it up and moved it? Okay.
I don't remember. Are you making a joke?
No, that's 100% true.
Oh, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, that ride existed because the standing roller coaster was this big thing for a while. I think around here, King's Dominion was the first ones that had it. And then not that particular ride, but a standing roller coaster where it's like a bicycle seat that you sit on. And they were kind of like all the parks were doing them. And they kind of fell out of favor. Well, then they get this, you know, going. And all they did was they literally repainted it. It's like a used car for a roller coaster. They repaint it. And then they slap it in their park. And I'm
but does it really? Okay, first of all, when you say I was not going up to them asking about how they built it. I was too busy being in the front row riding that baby all day long. Tiny's like, oh, well, tell me more about the velocity and the equipment and
what do you want from me?
Don't put me in that. I was too busy like, woo, like Tiny no hands.
They could have been telling me. I could have said so you have the cure for cancer. Like it's right here, ready to go. And Katie would have been like, "Come on, Tiny, woo! Woo!" So this is going to save 1 trillion lives.
Yeah, there was no we in that conversation. That was all you.
Yeah.
I was too busy having fun with that.
That's an exact perfect example of how Katie is in her own world. And we will. So we'll end with that music, as a matter of fact. I can hear it playing now, and it sounds so great. So what you're hearing is actually the inside of Katie's mind right now. So we're going to roll out of here. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Tiny.
I'm Katie.
And we'll talk to you on Tuesday at the all-new Tiny and Katie Show.
Have a good week.